You have a refill, you got enough yummy food and all that good stuff? All right, awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We are having another very exciting speaker series today. Also wanted to let you know we got some really great things that are happening here. We are running multiple projects at our design build firm, DW Design Decor, and they go from primary suites to basement renovations to kitchens and bathrooms, and we're all over the county. So we're really interested in helping our friends do some really great things and be really comfortable in their homes. Since people have been asking about progress of many of our projects, what we're excited to be telling you is that we're going to be doing more blogging. So I have my marketing group is putting up some more progress blogs on all the projects that we're doing. But sometimes it's not just enough to go on social media, and I hope that you will be following us on Instagram. But visit our website at deniseweniker.com/blog, and you can find out some of these projects as they unravel, because they last about a year, and there's a lot that goes into these things. So we thought that they'd be inspiration for you and your friends. Another exciting thing is next week I go to High Point, North Carolina, and that is a big trade show in my industry. It's 20 to 30 million square feet of showroom. And there's buses, and there's transportation, and there's the whole thing. So I go twice a year. I've been going for about 10, 12 years. And I find the latest and greatest trends, and I take seminars. And I'm actually this year going to be on a panel explaining how we use AI in our design firm. So it's out there, and we use all the technology that we can to deliver the best product. So follow us, and always DM me and let me know what you're thinking. And if there's anything that you want to see, I can do it live, and we can show you also. So that's so much fun. John Ferraro and I have been working on many projects lately, doing great stuff. And one of the things that we just finished, it's not photographed yet, but it's a beautiful lake house in Greenwood Lake. You probably have heard me talking about it. So after the last few pieces are delivered next week, and a little bit of artwork is put up, then we get the pictures taken, and then they go up on the portfolio, and you can see how much work that went into that, because that was really a spectacular project. Another thing that John probably doesn't want to tell you is that he's a great musician. He plays the piano, right? So we have that in common, because I love to sing. He plays the piano. One day, who knows, maybe we'll be singing and dancing for you here too. And his twin daughters are in Nashville, and they're country singers. So they have a great Instagram presence, and so when I watch, sometimes they put John on.
Unbeknownst to me.
Yeah, I mean they're making fun of Dad, so so it's all good fun. So anyway, John has a lot of wonderful things to tell you, so enjoy.
Thank you.
All right.
So welcome everybody. I'm so impressed with how many people are here. I really have to say this is a great show, and I hope that I'm worth you coming out and spending your Thursday evening. Thursday evening is my wife and I's favorite evening of the week, so we usually go out to dinner and have a very romantic evening, so thank you for ruining that. And I'm allowed to say that because we're married for 35 years, and she's my entire world, so I just... All right, so what I'm passing out to you right now, while it's being passed around, I'm going to talk about a few things, is a typical 2-sheet proposal that I bring with me to every potential new client. I try to keep it simple. Years ago, you're all kind of my age. I hope I'm not insulting anyone. I'm 61 years old. So years ago, we had no computers. We had no technology, AI, whatever you want to call it. So I used to do this when I started, when printers first came out, and I handwrite it for my clients. They all act surprised about that, particularly the younger ones. Text me, email me, airplay me with all the different words. If I try to say them all, I'll get myself in trouble. But this has been very successful. And so I want to start by passing this out and keep us in that state of mind of what is acoustic. Let's use some musical terms, okay? Acoustic musicians play with instruments, okay? Digital musicians play with synthesizers and Pro Tools and blah, blah, blah. And we may achieve the same thing, But there's something still very spiritual, if you will, about being acoustic, right? So it brought me back to a poem, very short poem, that I wrote when I was 1,000 years ago. And I wrote this poem because I was trying to decide, why do I want to be an architect? At the time, I was a musician. So the poem goes, where is the architecture? In our minds or in our souls? Okay? It seems to have a conscience which dictates right, as in Frank Lloyd Wright, and wrong. It's the art that needs its science to achieve euphoric song. So architecture is that balance between the artistic and the scientific or mathematical. We cannot escape, and I include interior designers in this, because we're the only art that requires us to function. We live in the spaces, we use the spaces. A sculptor can sculpt anything. He can go out and sculpt. He has no responsibility other than to bring people joy or perhaps contemplation. Same is true with a painter. Same is true with any of the other arts. Maybe I'll accept a furniture maker and there is a function there. So we as architects have to strike this balance. Very interesting story. So Denise, this is going to show you the connection between the two. So architecture is frozen music, is it not? All the characteristics and aspects of music you can apply to architecture. So one day I'm practicing, I happen to be practicing the Sonata Pathétique by Beethoven. And unbeknownst to me, of course, one of my kids was filming. Right? And they didn't tell me, like most things they do behind my back. And they posted it on my business website. That video has made me $80,000, keeping track of it.
Wow.
People are saying, when I ask people, why did you hire me? They say to me, if you can play that, you must be a great architect. So now my daughter wants a commission on that. And I have assured her she has received it. Right. And don't make me count, because eventually you'll owe me money. Many times over. So there is that connection between music and art and interior design. I do teach interior design. I taught interior design at FIT, Berkeley College. I'm entertaining another adjunct position with Belmont University in their bachelor and master's degree in architecture. So I like to do this. I like to stay in touch with. I like to be in front of people. Love to talk about architecture. Love to talk about interior design. It's truly, truly my passion. And I can only pray that everyone in their life gets to do what they love to do and then get paid for it. Okay? So what I'm going to try to do is, I'm going to try to align what you're looking at with what I'm showing you. How many people here are architects or interior designers? Interior designers? Interior designers? No architects?
I'm a landscape architect.
You're a landscape architect. Okay. Okay, so I got to behave myself. I didn't have to if there was no architect. So I'm going to take you through the process, because you have to accept when you're hiring an interior designer or an architect that there is a science behind it that has to be adhered to. It's not interesting. It's not what we learned in school, and it's not pretty, but it's so necessary. Because if you're shopping and for an architect, you need to understand that architect is responsible, that interior designer is responsible for complying with the codes. There's 3 levels of code. There's local, there's state, and there's national. I am not going to talk about that tonight. I am just going to tell you, you have to comply. And we have to deliver the bad news to you, that you have to comply. There's just no choice. Yes, it all means safety. Yes, it's environmental conservation. I get all of it. It's important, though, that the client get all of it. All right? So I'm going to kind of go in and out of that, because as soon as I see you start dozing off. In my class, I always assign a kid at the beginning of each class, you're the boring meter. If I'm getting boring, raise your hand. So whoever wants to raise their hand if they're getting bored, I'll shift to another subject. This is my website. I will not take you through it. You're welcome to go through it at your leisure. JohnFerraroArchitect.com. you'll see some of my work in here, both interior and exterior work. I am particularly proud of the church I designed, so if you have an opportunity, go look at St. Francis of Assisi. That is one of my pet projects. All right, so.
Where is it?
In West Nyack, New York. All right, so architects, when they come to your home, I believe, should explain to you what it is they're going to do for you in a way that makes you believe they're passionate about it, okay? You're not interested too much in someone who dots their I's and crosses their T's. You're going to assume that when I come over because I'm licensed. That means at some point in my life I took a test, right? In my case it was 10. Architects take 10 exams to become licensed, all right? Although I think they shortened it. Remember, I'm talking from 1987. That's when I graduated college, all right? So you're assuming I know all that stuff. So now it's up to me to take you through this process and keep it exciting in the presentation, in my first impression, which is what you get when I come to your house, all right? Denise and I do this together sometimes. Sometimes we do it apart. If they only want an interior designer, they will just call Denise. They won't need me. But we'll go over in a few minutes why you will need both, okay? I do have to admit, and I told Denise that she thinks it's hysterical, I'm a bit colorblind. So I always say to my clients when they start asking me about color, I'm colorblind. Meaning I have a tough time with greens and grays, blues and grays, green and brown. I'm arguing with my daughters in Nashville that the couch in their living room is green. They're like, no, it's not, it's brown. So this has been going on for years. I like it green. So that's when I always say to people, hire an interior designer for that. The color part of it's really not my expertise. All right, so let's look at the first box in the sheet you're holding. This box is what you should expect from any architect who comes to your home. These are the services that every architect should provide to you. Okay? The first one, site and zoning analysis. Okay? I always choose to get this over with because it's the boring part, but it's essential. Clients want to know if they can build on their property. Can I build this on my property? And there's a whole bunch of zoning ordinances in every municipality that tells you, what's your name?
Genevieve.
Genevieve. You can only have this much house on your property, and it can only be located in this spot. And guess what? If you have an architectural review board, it can't be this color, it can't have this roof pitch, and you can't cut down any trees. Done. All right. Now remember, these people in the municipalities are elected officials. So if you don't like that, change it. Change it. There are some municipalities, I was working in a municipality, I won't say which, it's not up here. They were so stuck on a particular type of design that every house looked exactly the same in the entire community. And I became so frustrated, and in one of the architectural review board meetings, I said, if Mies van der Rohe walked in right now and showed you his glass house and wanted to build it in this community, now Mies van der Rohe, right? Postmodernist, greatest of postmodernist art, they said, no, we wouldn't let him build here. I get the chills when I say this. Because at that point I felt like leaving, but I couldn't, I was representing my client. So if you want to change it, you have the ability to change it. But it requires a lot of people to change it. So that's the site and zoning analysis. Preliminary design, which is the next phase in that order of services. That's when the architect comes out and they start to assemble existing conditions. Now I take my laptop with my little old-fashioned tape and my modern tape. I'll show I have both. And I measure. Were you there when we did, Sabina? Was you there when I was measuring?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And I draw it all up here. Okay? And then I go back to my office and I come up with a design scheme. Right? When my design scheme is done, I call the client, I'm ready to come out to talk about design. Right? Now, I do not believe an architect is successful if you notice their work. If you look online and you pass a house and you say, that's a John Ferraro, I have failed. Because it's not about me. It has to be a Genevieve. What is your name?
Laney.
It has to be a Laney. It has to be a Denise. Every person has their own architectural fingerprint. I have to find that. That's my job. If you look through my website, you will not be able to tell the difference between one house and the other. Because I was not designing for me. That's very egotistical. I'm designing for you. Okay? Clients love that. One, so many people to say, I wanted to be an architect. So I get to say to them, you are. I'll find you. And then we get to have some fun. All right? After the preliminary design process, there's the design development process. So,
I have a question.
Sure.
In the design process, the program and the interaction between you and the client, how does that piece work? That before you know what to design for them?
So they give me, in the meeting where they hire me, we write a scope. You'll see it on the box in what I handed out. Did you get one?
Yes, I have it.
Okay. So in the box, it's called scope of work.
Yes.
We then come up with, I want 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, I want to add this to that. So I have an initial scope. I never get it the first shot, first time up at the bat. I come back with something, they say you love it, you hate it. And when I go into the meeting, I said use words like love and hate. I have 5 sisters, I have 4 sisters-in-law, I have 3 daughters, a wife, a mother-in-law, and a mother. I am numb to criticism. I am numb to criticism. All right, I've gotten it from all ends. All right, I have 2 sons. We hide in the corner of our house and we say nothing, and we're safe that way. So I explain to my clients, and I do it with humor because humor brings out creativity, right? Yeah. If we're scared, we're not going to be creative. So as soon as I can see they're smiling and laughing, I'm now tapping into their design personality. All right, scope of work. We decide there. Come in. You love it, you hate it. And eventually we get to, we love it. When the we love it is secure, then they say to me, let's do the construction documents. Okay? The construction documents are the very important, very detailed drawings that provide the contractor with the how-to, and they could also do a bid with that. And they provide the municipality with the assurance that this job is being done to code. State, local, and national. Okay? I mentioned that before. All right? It's instinctive to us, the professionals. Okay? It's not to you. So it's up to us to communicate that to you. All right? So let's take a look. By the way, in that square, in those services, there are services that I provide that I believe others don't. Okay? 1, unlimited design meetings. Why can I do this? Anybody? Why can I provide unlimited design meetings and not another architect? No? Nobody? Because of Revit. Revit is a program that while I'm drawing the floor plan, it's drawing all the other views for me. So when you make a change, I just have to make the change once. Years ago, we had to go through every drawing. If you move one window, we have to move it here, 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 here. So what used to take 10 hours to do is now taking, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you this, the click of a mouse. Mm-hmm. Now, fortunately, my son, who majored in architecture, when he got out of school, he came into my office, he said, this whole office has to change. You are a dinosaur. Now, I was working on AutoCAD, and I thought I was it. But now even AutoCAD is antiquated. Of course, you still have to go from drawing to drawing to drawing to drawing. This, you don't have to do that on Revit. Okay?
So do you charge more or you charge less?
I charge the same. Why do I charge the same? Why do I charge the same for a drawing that now takes me the click of a mouse that took me 10 hours years ago?
Because you work smarter.
You're working smarter, value.
Expertise.
Expertise, experience, good looks. Different class. I did that for my wife because I think she's lost her mind. She gives me the warning before I do these. She gives me the warning, but now that I know, I'm listening. So yes, when my seal goes on a drawing, John Ferraro, architect, okay, it means you're getting, okay, 12 years of my life to become an architect. It takes that long after high school, okay? you're getting 35 more years of experience. Okay? So no matter what I'm drawing or how I'm drawing, the value and the expertise is there. Guess what's also there? The liability. Because if you sell your house and you sell your house to her, he sells it then to her, and he sells it then to her, I still own what's ever going on in that house. Because if something happens and someone gets hurt, they're not going to the previous owners, they're going to the building department, and they're saying, who was the architect? Thankfully, that's never happened, but that's what could happen, right? So that's why I charge the same. Is it good for me? I'm thrilled about it. All right, we all have to make money, right? Okay. So, and incidentally, it's interesting. I have had clients say to me, you would double the cost of the architect I had here before you. So then I go through, does he give you unlimited design meetings? No. He charges $250 per hour per meeting after 2 attempts. So right there, now the clock is ticking, right? Does he do field visits during construction? Favorite part of my job is to come and see my stuff get built. Okay? No, he didn't say he did that. I said, well, he's going to charge you that because I've never had a job where I haven't been called out to the field for some reason. We hit stone, right? The roof rafters are all rotted. There's a dead body buried in the wall. That's never happened to me. I just seen if you were awake. Expediting with the municipality. A lot of architects don't want to be bothered with that. Okay, I do that. Hate it, but I do it. I do it because it ultimately gets kicked back to me. Because when someone else tries to do it on their own, it's just too complicated, especially nowadays with the environmental conservation forms. There's a million different forms that you have to fill out. So that's that. So there's a variety of things that I provide as a service that I know other architects don't. And I believe that's another reason why I tell people they should hire me. All right? I've been told by clients that they hired me, I was double the price. The neighbor hired a different architect simultaneous to them hired me, and they ended up paying him double what they paid me after all the extras and so on. Okay? So keep that in mind when you're thinking about it. So after the design development are these construction drawings. Now, construction drawings, again, are kind of tedious, but at the same time, they tell the story. So in this particular case, this is a project Denise and I worked on. All interior work, that's why the outside you're seeing has real no pizzazz to it. This was the house and is the house the way it is. There's a set of drawings there that tells you what you're going to demolish. Okay, I'm not going to really bore you with this. I just want to show you what you should expect. Then we have what's called the proposed drawing. What are we proposing? In this particular case, we were raising a roof, so on and so forth. If I scroll in closely here, you'll begin to see how we put the building together. All right, on a footing, what joist we're using, what girder system we're using, specifying certain structural aspects of the job. That's in there as well. It's funny, Denise, right? When you look at this, it just doesn't say how gorgeous it is.
Oh, I know.
Right? So construction drawings are famous for ripping out the gorgeous of the project because we have to be technical in these. All right.
Taking out the big wall, right?
Right. We
Big
took
wall
out
for
this
the big-
huge. This whole wall came out. And this is a view actually of Greenwood Lake. Wow.
Gorgeous.
So it's just beautiful. It was incredible. The owners were so happy they invited us for dinner. There was a rainbow. Show them the picture. You have the picture.
I have the picture.
Of the rainbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, show them the
Did
picture.
it? Yeah. Rick's, yeah, pass
I'll
it
hold
back.
Just hold it up.
That must be the-
While he's setting that up, all of my contact information is on the sheet that you have.
Speaking of the rainbow,
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
I mean, look at that rainbow.
Oh, my God.
That's
A
beautiful.
double rainbow.
Beautiful.
I mean, it was like a love fest. I mean,
It was beautiful.
this project was just like.
I've never seen a rainbow at both ends.
Yeah.
Usually you just see a piece of it going through the sky.
this is the team.
That was the 18. We call this the 18.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting.
Praise that.
Either end where it hit, the forest, I call it that, the forest was lit up. I mean, you could almost see the gold, right? You could almost see the gold.
That's cool.
It was that impressive.
Magic, isn't it?
It was magical. It was magical.
Yeah,
So was the food. So the food was phenomenal, and I gotta share it.
From one Italian to another.
From one Italian to another. So my wife had this crazy idea that we were gonna go on this diet. So the diet was no sugar, no carbs, and you're talking to an Italian. No sugar, no carbs, right? And lots of water. Lots and lots of water. So by the time we got to this party, we looked at each other in the car and said, "There's going to be really good Italian food through those doors. This diet is suspended." And we suspended it. We kind of dragged it into Sunday. Sunday morning, there's pastries and rolls. So we kind of was able to get to that. All right. So again, walls are coming down. Weight is being shifted. By the way, under this, kudos to Jimmy Ray. This house sat on bedrock and slate. So it's so easy for me to draw a little square and say 24 inch by 24 inch footing, 3 inches below grade. That's such an easy note to write. That took jackhammering, men on their bellies, men on their backs, lifts. I mean, a lot of work. So this is why contractors quite often, give the curse horns to the architect. But nevertheless, he was a real pro. He did a fantastic job. I expected to hear from Jimmy on this job a call every day because it was a complicated topography. He didn't call me once. He called me and they called me to tell me it was done.
Yeah.
And I got up there and I was flabbergasted. So let me explain something very carefully. There is no leader in this team that you hire, okay? There is the architect, there is the interior designer, there is the contractor, there is the building plan examiner from the municipality, right? Of course, there's the owner, you might say they're the leader. I would argue that's true. But there was an awfully long period of time, and I don't mean to insult anyone, where architects were walking around like they were some kind of gods, with their intellectual philosophies and all, and they were pissing off a lot of people because they weren't being cooperative. They weren't remaining humble. So when you're hiring a team, that aspect of humility is very important. See if you can detect that in the first meeting, all right? Because it is very important. So there's the elevations. And I'm going, I promise, I am going to get to, that was the last sheet. So this project only had 3 sheets. So then the big question is, should we all say it together? Who said it? Who just said how much is it? Okay. How do architects calculate their fees? This was such an easy answer to this question before COVID. Okay? Before COVID, construction costs were this. We were a percentage of that, and we went away. Everybody was happy. Okay? The range of percentage was we would charge anywhere from 7 to 15% of the construction cost. Before COVID, the average construction cost was about $150 to $180 a square foot. That's this region. Okay, you go upstate, it's a little less. You go closer to the city, it's a little bit more. We would do that. We would do the square footage. We would come up with an estimated construction cost. We would multiply it by whatever percentage fit that scope. So a residential job or something like this, it might have been, 10%. All right? Commercial jobs lean more towards the 15%. And it was it. That was it. COVID happens, and construction costs almost double. They haven't come down yet. Construction costs are still what they were in the height of COVID. I can't get a job if I double my fees. No one will hire me. So I switched to based on the scope, the levels of scope, right? So if it's a 1-story addition out the back of a house on a flat piece of property, you're probably looking at $8,000, okay? If you're going up another story, and the property is flat, an easy property, it'll be between 10 and 12,000, and so on. Okay? I don't remember what this was. 15? So, very important what the site looks like, because if it's a difficult site, it means more detailing for me. Okay? So, coming up with custom details and everything, not click and cut and paste details. I have to do it differently like that. I don't know how other architects are doing it, quite frankly. I know that of every 10 jobs I go on, I get maybe 4. So I have a 400 batting average. If I was a baseball player, I'd be in the Hall of Fame. So I think I'm okay. I have probably, in all different phases, I'm running about 30 jobs right now in my office. Some commercial, some residential. So, and people have come to me, how are you calculating your fees? Got a call today right before I got here. Sorry, John, we're not hiring you. We got a fee of $6,000, you were 12. I said, okay, are you getting the 3D Revit drawings? No, but I don't care, I don't want 3D. Okay. Are you getting the unlimited design meetings? No, I'm getting 2 meetings. Does that matter to you? No. Is he doing all the town work for you? No. So the client has to decide how important that is. Okay. Usually it's the Revit 3D that people want. They want to see it 3D. Not many people could take this and imagine it 3D. All right? Denise, how much time do I have?
I don't know, 20 minutes maybe?
I have 20 minutes? Okay.
All night.
25,
Third is the light. We're getting.
Okay, so before we move on, does anyone have any specific questions? Be blunt. I love blunt questions. Does anyone have specific questions?
Okay, in the scope of work, you always you're saying, if I have a nice flat lot, and I'm doing a one-story house, I can run around 8,000, what have you. Does that include you coming up for, let's say, building inspections
Yes.
and things like that?
So I write a very important note on my drawings. Field visits included, now listen carefully, when requested. Because I don't have mental telepathy. I don't know when your inspection's going to be.
Right.
I don't know if there's a dead man in the wall unless you call me to come, scrape him off the side of the sheathing. So you have to call me and let me know you're coming out. I like to be called the day before the inspection because everyone wants the inspection to pass, right? So if I'm called out the day before, I might be able to bring up something that they can fix before the inspector gets there. All right. Common thing is I'll be inspecting footings, for example, and I'll notice that the rebar is not sitting up off the ground 3 inches. They didn't put the chairs under the rebar. I said, you're going to fail inspection for that. I know what's going to fail. I know what's going to fail. Plumbers are no. Any plumbers here? I don't want to get hit with a lead pipe. Plumbers are notorious for burning my girders. They burn holes in my girders. And they don't ask me where to do that. And it affects the structural integrity of the girder. A girder is a big, heavy beam that's holding up your second floor. You don't want that to be compromised, right? So they're so strict about it that the companies that make those girders tell you exactly where you're allowed to drill through those to run pipes and not affect the structural integrity. And they just go up there with their torque and it's just chewed up and it's,
Here I am with the questions.
Okay.
So how much would be the fee, for example, for a project from zero, from just having a piece of land, for, let's say, a 4,800 square foot home in this area?
For the whole house.
Yeah, like a design for the house.
For the whole 4,800 square foot of house. Do I have a second to calculate this?
New, from scratch, from a piece of land.
Excuse me, we're going to sign a contract.
For you right after that.
You got a
I'll only
TCP.
tell you if you promise to hire me. All right. So you said 4,800 square feet, right?
Yeah,
How many stories?
2.
2 stories. So we're going to say 4,800, and we're going to say times, we're just going to do half of that. We're going to say 2,400 times, 2,400 times 250. Why did I take half? and not the whole
What's the
4,800?
footprint?
First floor,
First floor. And why am I separating it?
because the second floor is easier.
Thank you. Second floor does not have a foundation. So I'm going to apply that $250 a square foot just to the first floor. Okay? The second floor, so someone write down $600,000. Okay? Now the second floor, that's $2,400. We're going to times by about 180. You think less?
Yeah, because you don't have a foundation.
All right, so we'll do 2,400. Hey, I want the job.
I'm listening.
I want the job. What do you want to do? How much?
I don't know, 175.
All right, I don't know that I agree. Okay. 420. So we're up to about $1 million, $1.2 million. Was someone doing the math? All right, $1.2 million. So $1.2 million. So probably you're looking at for me about $75,000 for a fee
To design the home.
and do the construction. Get you a
But
building
then,
permit.
but then the construction is.
And then the
whatever you
construction is
decide
on top of it.
Materials.
Right,
are-
exactly.
So 75 is just for you to do all the designing. and all
Right,
the-
to do everything I just said that I do
Right.
on that.
Right.
Right.
Right,
That's good.
okay? All right?
You gonna hire
Also,
her?
excuse me?
I think she's gonna hire you.
She's gonna hire me? This night is adjourned. I have to go outside and get my Sure.
For 30 years, I had a commercial real estate business in New York City.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm looking at your plan here, and it so much has to do with what we would look at. Because if it wasn't in code, obviously, it greatly affected the price
Right.
that it would value at. I never got into the architecture versus engineering, but when you're building a 100-story skyscraper, do you get involved in that, or is that just engineering?
Oh, no,
You've got to know stresses on all of these columns and all of this bedrock and all of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Here's a precise answer to your question, okay? Remember earlier I said we take 10 exams? Okay? So I have to pass 2 site engineering exams. I have to pass 2 structural engineering exams, meaning I'm doing the engineering and the calculation. One is general structures, one is advanced and long span construction. Of course, I have to pass architectural history and architectural design. I have to pass a history exam. I have to pass a mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineer exam. Funny story behind that, I'll give you that in a second. And I don't know if I got through 10 of them. But yes, so we have to know every aspect of building. We have to be astute enough in every one of the disciplines to be able to recognize an error. Okay? We are, in the aspect of a team for a building, we are considered the leader of the team, the AOR in New York City, the architect of record. And we orchestrate all of the disciplines, even interior designers, very important, into that one big set of drawings. So we need to know that. So I go to take the mechanical, electrical, plumbing exam. Now I should say keep this in this room because it's very embarrassing, but I've told so many people this, I'm surprised it's not in the news. So these are the kinds of questions on that exam. Okay? You are at the North Pole. You're in a box. Your body temperature is 98.6, right? The thermal envelope of the box is such and such. The delta change in the thermal loss is such and such. Now, I'm expecting the question to be, what is the heat loss through the thermal envelope in the period of 1 hour? That's what I studied, that calculation. Instead, the question is what color socks was the guy wearing? It was that bizarre. No, that's not the real. That's how bizarre the question was. That's how dumb I was. So when I look at it, I'm like, that's not what I studied. I didn't study how to figure out the color of the guy's sock. So.
And you're colorblind.
And I'm colorblind. I didn't know what that meant, but that's very funny.
Green or brown?
Green or brown.
That's funny.
So, here I am, there was 300 questions
Wow.
in this exam, a 4-hour exam. The bell goes off that there's only 3 minutes left. I have 175 questions.
Jeez.
Okay. So now, I'm a praying man. I believe in God. You know, I pray every night. So I looked up to heaven and I said, if you let me pass this exam, I will never, ever try to do mechanical or electrical. I will always hire an MEP engineer. And then I proceeded, ABCD, ABCD, ABCD. And I just looked up to heaven while I was there. And I passed.
Oh my God.
75 was the passing grade. I got a 75.
Wow.
So now, I never ever get involved with MEP. When they ask me to review their drawings, I'm like, wow, this looks great. So that's, you can't be good at everything, right? I can play the sonata party, but I can't pass the MEP exam. I don't think I could pass it today either. All right, so if you could imagine getting back to here, and I'm going to switch over, if you don't mind, because I want to show you something exterior. So let's give this a chance to populate.
I have a question.
Sure.
Not to butt in or whatever, but do you have to go to continuing ed, meaning there's all changes and everything in all, like, laws?
Yes. So every licensing period, and the average licensing period is 24 months. Within that 24 months, I have to do 32 credits of continuing education. Meaning, it's all online now. You used to have to go. I used to go out to Long Island and here and there and take all these classes. Actually, you know what? It was better then because you got to network, you got to meet people, shake their hand. I mean, this generation, not you guys, we're all perfect. This generation, no one wants to talk to each other.
No.
Nobody wants to shake your hand.
Email.
Nobody wants to look you in your eye. I mean, I have an entire class with my students on how to shake someone's hand.
Really?
That's amazing.
And how to look someone in the eye when you're shaking someone.
Yeah.
They have no clue.
No.
This is what they look at, all day.
Correct.
It's really sad.
How many times have you taken the same courses?
What, for continuing education?
Yeah,
Never.
really?
Yeah, no. I get to choose them. There's a whole library. So you're not
Things have
taking
really
them all.
changed.
And then, of course, the southern states, because I'm licensed in Florida, South Carolina. We'll go over that in a second. They're more stringent. They have all the hurricane laws, and then you go out west. There's the seismic laws for earthquake. You would laugh hysterical because we had to take this. One of the exams was seismic, right? They're guessing. They're guessing. And how could they? How could that be an exact science, right? We can say wind is blowing horizontally, and we could figure out what's the uplift on a shingle. That's computable, if that's a word, right?
Yeah.
Right? And we could say a flood is coming and putting this kind of a load. That's computable. You can't put numbers behind this. Can you put a number behind this? No. That's seismic, right? You can't put a number behind that. So I did that with my class today. They're like, no, don't do that. They're all like 19 years old. I can do it. They're like, don't do that, professor. Don't do that. All right. So anyway, I wanted to show you a little bit of the 3D capability. I hope it's in this file. I did see it. Now I gotta show how old I am because I can't see. All right, so this is what I mean by reading. Now this is the house that I did in Somers, New York. All right, literally the existing house was just this, this little section, and we built a new house, right? So you can imagine when you are sitting with your architect, right? And you say to your architect, what is it going to look like if I stand right here looking towards the stairs? This is where Revit gives you a phenomenal look at it. So I could increase this, and I could show them
Exactly.
Very cool.
exactly what they're going to see.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right?
Very
So, even better than this, and I can't do it for you tonight because as advanced as we are, the rendering portion of this, it'll take like 4 minutes to render. Good gracious God, 4 minutes. Who has 4 minutes? When I was in college, just to draw this took an entire semester. So, the rendering capability, it will look like a photograph. Okay? I could animate this so that you walk through it and see it that way. Now, how much of that is to at my advantage when I'm selling myself to a client? I'm showing them this, right? But then they have to decide if they can afford it because they're going to pay me for it, right? So that's that. So basically, that was this was what the house looked like, and then if you want to see it done.
And you all want this to your son.
Yes. We will not tell him that, but you know what? Now that's on camera. Now he might be watching.
Between your son and your daughter, you're gonna
Right. So this is it built.
That's beautiful.
And there's a lot of different pictures, but I particularly love the copper,
Yeah,
the copper corrugated
that's
roof.
great.
Right.
That is really neat.
But again, you see how you go from design to, you saw this example of a construction drawing, to actually it being built. All right? This is a contractor friend of mine. He got this dirt cheap because I owed him big time because he gets me a lot of work. So I did this for him very cheap. But this is the process. This is the process you go through. Okay, now, people always ask me, because I teach interior design, at what point do you bring the interior designer into the project? There's no right answer to that. Because sometimes I'll bring Denise in, sometimes she'll bring me in, because she'll meet with the contractor before I even meet, or the other way around. All right? What is the difference between what we do? I was like, well, what's the difference between an interior designer and an architect? Okay? The architect provides the space. Okay? We provide what I call the negative space. Not negative bad, but what doesn't exist. The walls are the positive, and then we are the negative. Okay? And then it's up to the interior designer to critique me and say, I'd really like this wall over here because this is what I want to do. And then we start to have this dance. Okay? And we work together on coming. And of course the client is involved, running the show. Sometimes the client comes up with something neither of us like. We have to politic our way around it. You know, they're the boss. So often I'm doing stuff I don't like. And when you're in college, you're like, oh, we're the architect. You have to listen to us. Nobody listens to you. They're paying you, you do what they say. So often I put roof pitches I don't like, but I tell them, I'm honest. I say this is really not aesthetically pleasing, and I'll give all reasons why. It's not in harmony with the proportions of the house. You know, Denise. If they want pink polka dots on their wall, they're going to paint in pink polka dots. And you know what? You're not selling yourself out. Okay? We provide a service. We provide it as professionally as possible. We show up on time, right? We stick to our promises. And when we get paid, we have bills to pay. So the money is honestly earned and honestly spent. I hope that's true for everyone, but that's the way I practice. I know that's the way Denise practices as well. All right, anybody else have questions?
Who's picking out windows and the copper roof? Is that your client, or do you suggest things, or?
So at the beginning of a project, it's important to establish a budget. Okay? And never in all these years that I'm an architect has anyone ever said to me, there's no budget. Just have a wall. Yeah, no, I don't think that will ever happen. Okay? So within that budget, you start to align what products you're recommending to what you think their budget is. Okay?
That's an all-in budget, like kitchen, bathroom, tile, everything?
What, the $250 a square foot?
No, I mean, their budget. When you're
Well, you
asking
have
their
to tell
budget.
them, when they tell you their budget, you have to say, that might be reasonable without the kitchens and the bathrooms.
Right.
Listen, I did work for royalty once. Remember the movie Coming to America?
Yes.
I worked for a king once. They did a bathroom, I don't think it was any much bigger than this. This is 30 years ago. $75,000. Marble, gold, servants coming in, interpreters. I mean, it was crazy. Sometime if we have another chance to meet, I'll give you that story. Incredible story. But it's all about what you can afford. So if we detect that you have a B plus budget, I'm going to recommend B plus stuff because I don't want you to be disappointed when you see the price. Most of my drawings, for example, call out for Anderson 400 series windows. That's a good B plus window. Okay? If you jump to their 600 series, now you're paying some money. Same is true with Pella. All right? So these are the things that we are expected to know when we communicate with the clients. All right? I have clients who are living in the dark ages. I had a client the other day. I went to their house, and it's so hard when you know them. A friend of my sister's, I know the person, and she wants to do a two-story addition, 1,200 square feet, and she has a budget of $80,000. So I did the numbers for her. I'm like, look, depending on what you do to your kitchen and your bathrooms, you're well over $300,000 here. And she looked at me like I was lying. But I would rather have that than say, oh, great, do all the drawings for her, and then the bids come back at $300,000. Then she wasted her money on me. Now, needless to say, she didn't hire me. But quite frankly, I don't know that I would have wanted. I would have been nervous the whole time about, what's this going to turn into? What's this job going to turn into? So I hope that answered your question. Any other questions?
There's one thing to consider the construction cost, but do you also consider the maintenance cost down the road, like in 5 years, 10 years, the material that gets used the next day and the coating that goes on it and all that?
Right. So whenever a new product comes out, bragging this and that, I don't even spec it. That product has to give me 7 years before it lands on my drawing. All right? For example, years ago, a product called Drive It, D-R-Y-V-I-T, was being used on every exterior. It was literally nothing but styrofoam with a PVC coating. And people were raving about this. It looks so real, it looks like wood, it's so light, it's so cheap. But as soon as your son misses that pitch and that ball hits the house, it makes a dent in it. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, what? So I've never liked Drive It. That's an example. So I like to wait before recommending particular materials. I go with the tried and true wood. I'm kind of impressed with the vinyl floors that are coming around now. I actually put one in my house about 8 years ago. I chose the thicker vinyl, looks just like wood. Shame on me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in the lake house.
Yeah.
That's in the lake house.
And we have a lot of traffic. I have 5 children. 5 children altogether. Can I say that again? You can applaud. 5 children. Get ready to applaud again. Get ready to applaud. I have 2 sets of twins. Keep going.
2 sets of twins?
I have 32-year-old twins, Michael and Megan. Michael, graduate school architecture, he's doing modular construction. He lives in LA. I'm supposed to be there right now, but I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm leaving tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to go visit him. His twin is Megan. She's a teacher in high school, same high school district as my wife. Mary and Brianna, they're both singer-songwriters in Nashville, but Mary surprised me over the summer and has now gone back to school, I haven't tell you this yet, for her master's degree in architecture.
Wow.
Yeah. And is doing really quite well. So again, music, architecture. My son Johnny is in his master's degree for teaching as well, but he is a professional beach volleyball player.
Wow.
So those are the greatest games to go to. Win or lose, you're on the beach. Right. Here's something really interesting, a little personal. He is biologically the triplet of Mary and Brianna, because all my children are IVF. And the reason I tell this story is I'm very much surprised at how many people will contact me afterward, asking me for the names of my doctors and da-da-da-da-da. So we didn't want 1 million kids in one pregnancy, so we put him in the freezer. And 5 years later, they said, we don't know what to do with this little guy, but we don't have any studies on in vitro affecting in cryopreservation for more than 5 years. So, and I remember that morning when we found out Jean was pregnant. I had the 2 bottles in my hand for Mary Brand, and I'm going into the kitchen, and I literally banged my head. Because I knew I wasn't done. That we were doing this all over. Guys, you can throw money. Just make sure it's proportional to the tuition fee. Which I'll be paying till I'm dead. Are we good? Anybody?
How great is he? Can you see why we're the 18th?
Yes, yes.
Really, it's been such a pleasure working with John, and my wonderful contractor couldn't make it tonight, but you know, when you have a team that works so well together, and really the client is in the middle, that is the dream, because everybody wins. And so, you know, that's what we put together, and we make it just a wonderful, pleasant, incredible experience for everybody. And so, you know, thank you. So, I hope you got something out of this. Wonderful.
If anybody wants my digital card, hang up, hang out, I just have to point my phone at yours, okay, and you'll get my digital card.
And we have more food, thanks to Polly. You did okay, but it wasn't the same. She was busy, so I had to muddle. But anyway, more of everything. I'll get even some more wine, enjoy each other, and, you know, ask any more questions. Thanks, guys. What was the first project? Oh my God, this was so good. See you soon.